A mail merge is when you take two files and you merge them together. So you have a document file that has information in it that you insert data into from a separate file. So an example of that would be when you send a letter to 2,500 different people, the letter basically says the same thing, but you want it to be personalized. So Joe's letter, you want to say, Dear Joe, and Sally's letter, you want to say, Dear Sally. You go and you get that information from a data file that's Joe's name and address and Sally's name and address. And so that way you don't have to manually type out 25 letters. It'll just insert the data that you need. So to make a mail merge, I like doing it through the wizard because it just walks you through the steps. So if you go to mailings and you say start a mail merge, you have a step-by-step wizard. And it just makes it really easy, especially the first few times you go to do one when you're not really sure what it is you're doing. And that'll bring up this panel on the right. So the first question it's asking me is, what type of document are you working on? Is this a letter? Is this an email message? Is it an envelope, label? So for this example, we're going to make labels. And it says, click next to continue. So I go down and I click next. And the next thing says, change your document layout. Well, we haven't made this into labels yet, so we need to go into label options. Now, when you actually go to a store to buy sticker paper that has labels already on it, they're by brand. And a really common brand is this Avery US letter. So Avery is a brand. US letter meaning that it's a letter-sized piece of paper, so you don't have to do anything special in your paper trays on your printer. And a really common one for address labels is 5162. And that's just the number that's on the box. So that's the one you can pick, is the Avery US letter 5162. And just say, okay. Now, if those little grid lines don't come up for you, it's because your table layout, you don't have view grid lines turned on. Okay, those are just lines. They're not going to print. They're just showing us where the labels actually are. Next, I can select my recipients. Well, I don't have any list yet. You could use an existing list if you had one. You can select from your Outlook contacts. So if you had your emails through Outlook as a reader, you could use that. In my case, I want to type a new list. So I'm going to create it. Now I'm going to customize the columns first. You can see that I have the title of someone like Mr., Ms., Mrs., first name, last name, company name, address line 1, address line 2. I don't need 2 lines of an address, so I'm going to delete that. And I do need city. I'm going to change state and rename it to actually say province, so it's just a little bit more correct. Zip code, I'm going to rename and call it postal code because we're in Canada. I could leave country, home phone, work phone, and so on and so forth. One thing that I do need for this particular assignment is I need another column. So I'm going to add one in. That's the position that the person works in. Are they the manager or the president or what are they? And I'm going to move this up so that that comes right after their name, just because it's easier to fill in. So there's my fields, and I'm going to say OK. And now it's ready for me to start typing in. So I'm going to type in, the first person here is Mr. Brad Phillips, and he's the manager. And he works for Computal Group, Inc. And I'm just pressing tab to go from cell to cell. Lives at 485 Grandville Avenue, or that's the company address, in Vancouver, BC. V0B 2G0, and I can just press tab and skip through these. And when I get to the end and I press tab again, it'll actually give me a new row, which is called a new record, or I could also click this button that says new entry. And so I'll put in my second one, and I'm just going to put in Ms. Sue White, and she's the CEO of the ABC company, and she lives at 123 Elm Street in Olds, Alberta. And I'll say OK. So I have 2 people. It's asking me where I want to save my data source. Make sure you put this in your proper folder. I'm just going to throw it on my desktop for now. And I'm going to give it a name and call it address data. So that's saved. I can OK out of this screen. And here's my labels, and it's given me this next record code. And that's supposed to be there, so don't worry about it. Back over here, step 3 says arrange your labels. So let's go do that. I need to now insert some information. So I'm going to go get more items, and I'm going to put in the title, insert, and there's a little kind of a quirk here in Word. It won't let you go and put a space after that title now unless I close out of this screen. So I just put everything in that I need in the order I need it, and then I go do my spacing afterwards because I find that faster. So first name, I'll insert. Last name, I'll insert. Position, company name, address, line 1, city, province, postal code, and then I'm going to close this out. And now I can go in here. And after title, I need a space. And after first name, I need a space. And after last name, I need an enter. And then I need their position and their company name on the same line, so I can add my spaces and put in an enter. And enter. And city, space, province, 2 spaces, postal code. Highlight those and change my paragraph to be no points before, no points after, single spaced. So that's what my labels should look like. Now I'm going to click this button that says update all my labels. So they all look the same. Next record means it's going to go get the next person. It's going to type 1, go get the next person, type all their information, go get the next person, type all their information, and so on and so forth. Next, preview your labels. There they are. They're beautiful. And so if they were completely correct and you noticed that there weren't any spacing errors or anything like that, then you can complete the merge. And what that does is it goes and it grabs all of the data for all of the letters, and it allows you to make individual editing if you need to, or to print them. We still need to do one little fix on here, so I'm going to say edit individual labels. I want to merge it with all my records that I have. So there they are. I'm in a new document now. And the reason I wanted to do that is because I still have to put this in Canada Post Standards. And Canada Post Standards says, if you remember, that we need to change it to all capital letters. And we need to change it to Courier or some other non-proportional font. And we need to get rid of any punctuation marks. So I'm going to go through and edit those. Now, obviously, if I had done that correctly in my data file and not put the punctuation in there, I wouldn't have had to edit it here. So now I could just print those labels.